Williams of Piedmont Natural Gas is going to get us started today with some general safety information.
Thanks, Craig. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Warren Williams with Piedmont Natural Gas, and on behalf of Director Laura Slesher and the entire staff, we welcome you to the Fairgrounds, Nashville. A couple safety items we would like to share with you. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please take a moment now to locate the exit closest to you on either side of the grandstand. In the event of inclement weather, we ask that you advance to your exit and then proceed to the tunnel and operations area located behind the grandstands, where you were earlier today. For your convenience, we do have fairground staff as well as Piedmont staff that will be available to direct you. In the unlikely event of an explosion, we ask that you advance to the closest exit and make your way to the nearest parking lot. We do have first aid and AED equipment available. Some will be here on the track, and we also have that equipment in the administration and Nashville Flea Market officers. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Craig.
Hey everybody, we want to take a second to recognize the sponsors that have made this event possible. Of course, Piedmont Natural Gas. As I talked about a few minutes ago, they've got a really safety-conscious atmosphere and culture that they've built, and luckily they've got some great companies that surround themselves with that same ideology. We've got BH Homes Construction, Care Supply, Consolidated Pipe and Supply, Heath Consultants, Kinder Morgan, TTC Utility Construction, and Team Construction. We want to thank those folks for making this event possible. We also have several wonderful vendors who we'll recognize before the end of the demonstration. Thank you again. I'm going to hand it over to Donnie Whitaker with Piedmont Natural Gas.
Hello, we wanted to welcome everybody today to the Malk Line strike. Just looking over the crowd, it's a great crowd. We really appreciate y'all coming and participating with us today. The Malk Line strike is a real event. It's something that we do day in, day out in our community, and that's what we wanted this to be about today, is safety in our communities by learning how to put our job sites on, the hazards that go along with improperly setting up a job site, and just reenact that for you and make it, do it in a fun way where that everybody could learn something today. Hopefully you'll be able to take something home with you. Nashville is absolutely just busting out the seams. We are growing by leaps and bounds. We got 100 people a day are moving to Nashville. Our ticket volume, Tennessee One Call ticket volume is increased 50% in 2016. So this is a big deal, guys. A lot of construction going on out in the field day in, day out. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about us. Piedmont works in 9 counties here in Middle Tennessee, Davidson County being the center, and then every county that touches Davidson County and a little portion of Trousdale County. We've got about 3,500 miles of distribution main. We've got 100 miles of transmission line and about 180,000 customers. Tickled to death all of you here. We appreciate it. If you look across the crowd now, I see a lot of safety partners out there that we've dealt with in the past, and we thank all of y'all for coming.
All right, now we're going to hand it over to Mr. Bill Turner, the president of Tennessee 811, and he's going to give us some insight into Tennessee 811's ticket entry, the process of a locate request, and enforcement activity in our state.
Thank you, Craig. I'm Bill Turner, president of Tennessee 811. I'd like to welcome everybody here today. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Piedmont Natural Gas for putting this event on. I'd like to thank Craig for his hard work and Donnie for his hard work. There's been several people that have worked behind the scenes to get this put together, but it was a huge undertaking, so I really appreciate their time. For some of you that don't realize, April is National Safe Digging Month, and so I can think of no better way to celebrate that by having an event like this at the Nashville Fairground. Tennessee 811, which used to be referred to as Tennessee One Call, we are an underground utility line damage prevention organization. People in Tennessee are required to call 811 anytime they're excavating in the state of Tennessee. They're required to give 3 working days notice. They're required to give specific information about what they're doing, where they're doing it, why they're doing it, and when they're doing it. This information is accepted at the Tennessee 811 office. We tabulate that information, and then we send it out to our utility members. At that time, they're required to go out and they're required to mark their underground utility lines. Part of the process is to use a specific color when locating those underground utility lines. Gas is marked with yellow, electric is marked with red, orange is your communications, blue is for water, and green is for sewer. The excavator, after making notification and waiting the required time, they're required to go out and they start their work. If upon showing up at the job site, there's a presence of an unmarked underground facility, it's that excavator's responsibility to stop and re-notify Tennessee 811. The reason for this is we're ultimately trying to protect underground utility lines from being damaged. So as part of your safety aspect, not only making the phone call, but looking at the location, making sure that all the facilities have been marked. In addition to doing that, Tennessee 811 has a positive response system that as an excavator, you can go on prior to going to the job site and look and see what the response from each utility has been to your locate request. This system's available on our website. It's also available on our mobile apps. We have an app on Android and Apple that I would encourage you to download. It's a free download. It's got a lot of useful information both for utilities and for excavators. Once everything's been marked and you're assured that everything's okay, you start your excavation, there's a tolerance zone that you need to respect. Locating is not an exact science, and in addition to locating their facilities, the utilities sometimes have difficulty locating to the depth, and according to the law, they don't have to locate the depth. So around those facility markings, you have a 2-foot tolerance zone plus the size of the facility that you're not permitted to excavate within. If you have to dig within that zone, you have to hand dig. I've referred that we have a law in Tennessee that requires excavators to call before you dig, and it requires utilities to be members of Tennessee 811. In the last few years, we've been very successful in passing better legislation to make Tennessee a safer place. I'm happy to report that July of 2016, we established our enforcement board. The enforcement board is made up of 16 stakeholders, which includes utilities, excavators, governmental agencies, and Tennessee 811. Any violation of the Underground Damage Prevention Act can be reported by going to the Tennessee 811 website. The Tennessee Regulatory Authority, which now is the Public Utilities Commissions, they're required to do the investigation of any of those proposed violations. That violation is then reported to the enforcement board, and they determine if there's a violation of the Underground Damage Prevention Act. If there's a violation, that violator is required by law to go through training. First offense of the Damage Prevention Act is mandatory training. Second offense is a $2,500 fine and mandatory training. And the third violation is $5,000 fine and mandatory training. Our goal is not to fine people that are violating the act. Our goal is to make people better and smarter. As Craig will tell you, we spend a lot of time promoting 811. We do several presentations across the state. We do several trade shows. Our objective is to reach every nook and cranny of the state to educate people and make them aware of the importance of 811. This event today, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of excitement about it. It shows you the bad things that can happen, but it's also going to show you the good things that can happen. And all that takes is a little cooperation and consideration from all of us that deal with damage prevention. Thank you for coming today. Thanks for everybody that put this on, and I appreciate your support in damage prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. All right, are y'all about ready to get started? Let me hear some noise. There we go. I like that. That's very impressive, actually. All right, stick around after the demonstration. There's going to be a ton of giveaways, and we're going to come up in the stands and just hand it directly to you. So don't get up and move. And by the way, if it starts pouring down rain, I'm feeling some drops right now, we're going to keep this thing going. And you guys, you're covered. I mean, you've got nothing to complain about. We fed you. We gave you goodies. We put a roof over your head. What else do you want from us, right? Y'all stay right where you're at. We'll make sure to entertain you.
Patrick, cue the excavator. Send him out.
So our scenario today starts with an excavation crew. The excavation crew is going to be in the process of installing a utility line. So they're arriving on site as we speak, and they're really fighting that temptation to take off around the track and do a lap. But they're going to head over to the job site, and in this case, our job site happens to be near the location of a pipeline, as evidenced by pipeline markers. It looks like they've staged some equipment, so they're ready. They're pre-planned for their excavation. Now they're going to get out and actually survey the dig site. You notice that he's got a can of white spray paint in his hands. The white spray paint is used to mark the location of proposed excavation. So that's to give the utilities, the locators, the folks that are responsible for responding to a locate request, responding to excavation, it gives them a better understanding of where the work will take place. So you see that he's marking with white paint, and there's not really a standard for what you have to do as far as putting out white markings. It can be paint or flags. In this case, he's drawing some arrows to indicate the limits of their excavation. And now that they've got it marked up with white paint and they have an idea of what they need to have a locate request for, they're going to make that call to 811. Now, regardless of what state you're in, when you dial 811, it's going to take you to your local one-call service. Every state also has a 1-800 number just in case you're close to a state line and 811 directs you to the wrong center. But when you place a locate request, there is a certain amount of information that we need in order to get the locators sent your way and make sure they have everything they need to accurately locate the dig site. So we're going to get company information. We're going to get information about the specific person we're talking to. We're going to get information about the excavation, what county, what city the work is taking place in, what street you're working on. We need cross street and side street information. We're going to get marking instructions from you, and that's to clarify where the excavation work will take place. And then once the notification is processed and the locate request is sent on to the utilities, they have the opportunity to respond. Now in Tennessee, there's a standard wait time of 72 hours, excluding weekends and holidays, that a utility company or its locator has to perform the locate request. So at this point, the locate request has been submitted, the phone call has been completed, the utilities have been notified. Piedmont Natural Gas has dispatched its locating service, Heath Consultants, and Heath Consultants is arriving on scene. Now, locating is a really tricky concept. It's not always straightforward. It's not always easy to understand. But the basis of it is you have to look at a paragraph of text on a screen or a paragraph of text on a piece of paper and decipher from that exactly where one is going to be excavating. Then begins the difficult part. You've got to be able to locate the facilities accurately, mark an approximate location that gives enough information for an excavator to dig safely. Now, a lot of locating done these days is using electromagnetic fields or radio frequencies. So you can see that Tim is putting on his hard hat. He's pulling out his equipment. He's, of course, coning off his truck. And Tim's going to make his way over to the job site The white markings will help identify if he had any question beyond what was on the locate request. Notice that he's pulled out his locate wand. He's going to pull out his paint and flags. Now, as Tim makes his way over to the site of excavation, it's important to note the steps that he has to go through before he can ever really start to locate that underground facility. In this case, he's going to walk over to a gas valve. He's going to use that as a grounding point to connect his equipment, and that's what broadcasts the signal along the tracer wire buried with the gas line that allows him to be able to find it under the ground. So here's Tim opening up the gas valve and connecting his equipment. So now Tim is equipped. He's ready to start locating the line. You can see that he's waving the locate wand back and forth. He's putting down paint to indicate where the underground line is. And in this case, Tim is going to go back and put down flags as well, just to make sure that it's apparent where the excavation will occur. Now this is where the real skill looks. Oh my gosh, look at this. He's blowing me away. Look at these flags. He's throwing them. He's not even bending over. That's real technique and skill. That round of applause is well deserved. All right, so Tim has located the underground facilities. He's taking pictures to document the locate that he's performed. And now he's going to abandon the site, leave it for the excavation equipment. But before he's completely done with the project, he's going to post a response on the positive response system to indicate to the excavator what he's done. So in this case, it wasn't clear, no conflict. There wasn't outside Piedmont Natural Gas's service area. He did perform the locate. He put down paint and flags. And so when he gets back in his truck, he's going to post that information so that it's available to the excavator. Now in this case, gas has been marked with yellow spray paint and flags, but of course different colors are used by different utilities. You've got water, which is blue markings. You've got electricity, which is what color? Red. Red is accurate. You've got green, which is also electric. Is that right? No. Thank you, Ann. Green is for sewer. Orange is telecommunications and other underground cables. That could be coax, that could be fiber. These various types of utility markings will be used to indicate what type of underground line you're dealing with and what you need to be aware of when you're planning your excavation. All right, so the excavators, 72 hours have passed. That's excluding weekends and holidays, 3 working days. The excavators are returning to the site. Now they've also checked positive response to verify that all utilities have responded to the locate request that they submitted, and that's a really important component of this process. If you check the positive response system after the ticket has become valid and you see that you're missing responses, that can be an indication that a utility was not able to respond in time or there was some other conflict. So that's your provocation to notify the one-call service a second time and let them know that there's some kind of error. Now, what Bill mentioned before was that if you get out to a job site, you've got some other clear indication of an unmarked utility. So maybe you've got a gas meter on the side of a house or a commercial building and you don't see yellow markings leading up to it. That's another great symbol to you that something fell through the cracks and that you need to make that second call. So the excavators have arrived at the site. They're looking at the markings and they see that it conflicts with their proposed area of excavation. So at this point, they know that they need more information in order to dig safely. So they're going to notify Piedmont Natural Gas that they need further assistance. Now, in some cases, it may be as simple as a quick phone call, but in this case, Piedmont Natural Gas, because of the close proximity to the line, is going to roll one of their representatives to the job site to provide more information and help instruct the excavator in safe digging practices, again, because this is extremely close to the buried line. I'll also take this opportunity to point out that in Tennessee, our tolerance zone, our safety buffer on either side of the markings that you see and on either side of an underground utility is 24 inches. That's 2 feet every direction of the utility. So if you get out to a job site and you see that you're working within that tolerance zone, within that distance, that is your indication that mechanized equipment is not the answer. Digging with mechanized equipment inside the tolerance zone is not safe. It also makes it very difficult for you to argue the case that you did everything you were supposed to do to protect that line if a damage occurs. So Piedmont Natural Gas has arrived on site. Notice that they're putting out cones because safety first. Now he's going to come over and interact with the excavator. They're going to discuss the limit of the excavation site and what their needs are. Communication is an integral part of the safe digging process, and what we're seeing here is that communication happening firsthand. This takes a matter of minutes in a lot of situations, especially if it comes down to just a phone call. And folks like Piedmont Natural Gas are always more than willing to do everything they can to provide you with additional information to make safe digging easier to accomplish. So, understanding that they're digging so close to the line, the Piedmont representative has advised the excavation crew that they need to use soft digging methods. Now, that could be hand digging. You don't always have a vac rig. You don't always have some other method available to you. So if you have to hand dig, that's a great alternative to pulling out the backhoe, pulling out the excavator. When you're hand digging, though, you can still damage a utility line. So a really great method of soft digging is hydro or vacuum excavation. You can see this piece of ditch witch equipment that we've got on site now. This is a trailer-mounted vacuum rig, and this would be a great way to pothole and expose the facility to make sure that they pinpoint with 100% accuracy where the line is located before the excavation work begins. So now you've seen the right way to do it. Every step leading up to make this a safe excavation. We're going to reset at this point, so give us just a few minutes, and we're going to show you what happens when it's not done the right way. I missed the gentlemen start your engines. I really apologize to you guys for that. We had excavation equipment starting up. We had an air compressor starting up. I really fell down on the job. So this is scene 2. This is what you're going to experience when things go wrong. So in this case, we've got 2 gentlemen involved in some excavation work. They've arrived at their dig site. Their excavation equipment is ready to go. They've got a clear indication that they've got some pipeline markers in front of them. So again, great information is being presented to them about what could possibly be underground. Now it looks like they're going to line up where the pipeline markers are, and they assume that the pipeline is buried directly beneath those pipeline markers. But that's unlikely to be the case. Now the gas line may be buried in close proximity to those pipeline markers, but it's not directly underneath and it's not directly in line. Notice also these gentlemen don't have on hard hats, or other PPE. The spotter has approached the excavation site. He's signaling to the operator of the excavation equipment that he's good to go. Another key point here, no one picked up the phone and dialed 811. It takes less than 5 minutes to place a locate request in Tennessee. Now the spotter has abandoned completely the excavation site. The operator of the excavation equipment is trying to get his attention, but it's clear that the spotter has a phone call that's a lot more important. So the excavator is frustrated. The excavator is just going to move forward with his digging work, and here he goes. That bucket is going into the earth. Uh-oh, he has struck a natural gas line. Product is escaping from the buried pipeline. The spotter ran back to the escaping product, and unfortunately natural gas displaced the oxygen in the air, and therefore he lost consciousness. The operator of the excavation equipment abandoned the site to go upwind of the escaping product, so a good move on his part, and he's now on the phone with 911. He's alerting emergency services. If you cause damage to a natural gas line or any other utility, you want to make sure that your first step is to call 911 as soon as you've been able to escape to a safe area. So now, at this point, the fire department has been notified, and the fire department is going to roll to the scene.
Man down. Completed route. Fairground Speedway reported man down. Hey, in route.
The fire department's units are responding. In this case, we're going to have Engine 8, District 8. We're going to have truck number 21, and we're also going to have a medical unit. Now notice that they have stopped to get a better understanding of the situation at hand. Because they're not yet fully aware of the nature of the situation, they're in their PPE, ready to investigate. The operator of the excavation equipment is doing everything he can to get their attention and get them to rush into what is now a hot zone of escaping product.
We got one man down at this time. Truck 21, engine 8, full inch, 3/4. Truck 21, man up to this, engine 8, getting the man out of the hot zone. So it looks like we have a ruptured jet this time. Next one.
Fire department representative in the white shirt is acting as the incident commander. The fire department is now pulling their red hose. They understand that they have a man on the ground and they need to get him out of the cloud of vapor as soon as possible.
Copy. Bring this time out for emergency traffic. Task Force 12, Safety 19. Respond to Fairground Speedway on a confirmed man down at a construction site. Confirmed 4-inch natural gas pipeline rupture. District 8 is Fairgrounds Command. Task Force 12, Safety 19. Respond to Fairground Speedway on a confirmed man down at a construction site. Confirmed 4-inch natural gas pipeline rupture. District 8 is Fairgrounds Command.
The fire department will now enter the hot zone to make a life safety rescue. If there was a situation that did not involve danger to someone's life, they would not enter the hot zone with such haste. We now have additional units responding. The incident commander made it clear that they needed additional units. The firefighters are approaching the down spotter using a wall of water technique to control vapor. The firefighters are now in the active hot zone of escaping product. They're going to extract the spotter while continuing to control vapor and mitigate the risk of ignition with the wall of water from the red hose.
Dispatch direct. OEM 4, Piedmont, command, respond to Fairground Speedway. Sure pipeline. OEM copy. Down. Return to command.
Medical unit is now escaped to the medical unit to approach the victim, and then you're in.
Now that they've been able to extract the down spotter from the hot zone, it's safe for the med unit to approach. They're going to load the spotter up onto a gurney and make sure that he gets immediate medical attention. Emergency management. All right, they're extracting the spotter. He'll go through decontamination. Hazmat has arrived on scene. They're going to continue to monitor the situation, monitor gas levels, and the Office of Emergency Management has arrived on scene. The fire department and the Office of Emergency Management are now represented in the incident command structure. The Office of Emergency Management, understanding that there's a natural gas leak and that natural gas is actively escaping, will now notify Piedmont Natural Gas. Piedmont Natural Gas first responder crews are going to arrive on site and make an assessment of exactly what type of situation they're dealing with.
As you can see, the incident commander in the white shirt, the OEM in the black shirt are discussing the event.
The representative from the fire department in the white shirt is communicating with the representative from the Office of Emergency Management in the vest to discuss the needs of the situation at hand and the extent of the incident. Piedmont Natural Gas has arrived on scene. The first priority of the Piedmont representative is to connect with the command structure, so they're going to find the incident commander.
Firefighters are now. These guys in the hazmat
The Hazardous Materials Division is going to monitor the site. They're going to monitor air levels, gas levels, and establish the safe zone. The medical unit is evacuating the victim off-site. The Piedmont Natural Gas representative is out of his vehicle. You'll notice the green hood that he has on his hard hat. He's connecting with the white shirt representative from the fire department, who is the commander of this incident. A unified command structure is being established by the communication that you see between Piedmont Natural Gas, the fire department, and the Office of Emergency Management.
It looks like PNG just contacted the other representatives for PNG as well. What did you say?
You'll notice that the first responder from Piedmont, who again has a green hood on his hard hat, is not being allowed inside what is still an active hot zone of escaping product. Once they've established the limits of the hot zone and determined air quality, they'll allow him to proceed. The initial responder, the first responder from Piedmont Natural Gas, has already notified the construction crew from Piedmont Natural Gas, who will be dispatched to shut down the flow of escaping product. The Piedmont representative is monitoring a water box currently. He also has a gas valve and some other grates that he's been checking. And what he's checking for is gas that may migrate underground. Migrating gas can become a real problem even if you're not within the confines of the original incident location. That gas can migrate through sewer lines, through conduit, through other buried infrastructure, and get into other homes and businesses that may be in close proximity to the location. The fire department and the first responder from Piedmont Natural Gas are discussing the gas levels and the air quality levels from the equipment that they've used to monitor. And as I mentioned, Piedmont Natural Gas is concerned with underground migration of the natural gas, while the fire department, the hazmat team specifically, are concerned with the overall air quality.
Looks like the pipeline construction crew has arrived.
From your right, you'll see Piedmont Natural Gas's construction crew arriving on scene. The first responder from Piedmont Natural Gas, again wearing the green hood, is approaching the responding construction crew from Piedmont Natural Gas to hand over command of the incident from the natural gas perspective.
Just waiting on him to take off.
The construction crew responding from Piedmont Natural Gas is on scene. They're communicating with the first responder from Piedmont Natural Gas, as well as the commander of the incident with the fire department. You'll notice that the first responder from Piedmont Natural Gas removed his green hood. He has handed control of the incident over to the Piedmont representative on the construction crew. Now that's control of the incident from the natural gas perspective. The fire department still has ultimate control of the incident and the command structure. The first responder from Piedmont is going to continue to monitor gas levels and continue to check for migration at the access points that he has. The construction crew has developed a plan of attack for shutting down the flow of product, but they're not going to enter the hot zone until they have approval from hazmat. The construction crew has gathered their required equipment, including valve keys, to insert into the valves in order to be able to turn those valves and shut off the flow of product. They're now heading back towards the site of the damage and the original site of proposed excavation. The leader of the construction crew is directing his folks where they need to go. You'll notice that each team is approaching one of the gas valves. Now this is really important in an emergency scenario. Whether you're an excavator, whether you're an emergency responder, you need to be aware of where your vehicle, where your equipment is parked. If you park on top of a valve, it may inhibit the gas company's ability to shut down that flowing product and control the escaping gas. You'll notice that the construction crew lead has indicated to his team that they can shut down the flow of product. Communication is always key. They're now turning the valves, and the product has been shut down. The gas company will continue to monitor gas levels. Hazmat will continue to monitor the scene and the air quality. And the Piedmont representatives can begin to discuss their plan of attack for repairing the damaged pipe. The fire department hazmat units are indicating that the product has been stopped and that the scene is under control. So now that it's been confirmed that no gas is migrating underground, always a good thing, and that the air quality is acceptable, the fire department hazmat will begin to pack up their equipment, and the incident has been brought to a conclusion. So all this demonstration, all the action that you just saw, all the equipment, the manpower that was needed, all of this can have been prevented by a quick call to 811, a quick notification to the one-call service to let the utility representatives know that excavation work was going to be going on in close proximity to their underground lines. And again, communication is key, use of 811 is key, safe digging is a must. We want to thank the fire department and the Office of Emergency Management. Let's give them a round of applause. It takes a large team to carry out an event, a demonstration like you just saw. We want to take a moment to recognize the folks at Intertech, Mark, Madison, Patrick, Jeanette. They handled a lot of the behind-the-scene logistics that made this possible. And it never would have happened without Piedmont Natural Gas and the big interest that they had in putting this demonstration in front of a Nashville audience. The amount of excavation work that's going on in our state and across the country is just unbelievable, and this type of message is sorely needed. We've recognized our sponsors for this event already, and I also want to take an opportunity to recognize our other vendors. CMS Uniforms, Elliott's Boots, Energy Land and Infrastructure, Red Wing Shoes, Safe Industries, Southeast Apparatus, Southern Cross, and Vermeer Heartland. Thank you all very much for your involvement.